This video is about dosing of the GI Janelle 1 powder for IBS and SIBO. I'm going to go through 3 levels of dosing. So you have an average dose increments, moderate dose increments, and for very sensitive patients. Now, for all of these categories, you can take the GI1 powder with or without food. You can take it before meals to stimulate your digestion process by the bitter aspect, and you can take it all at once or divide it. That includes all of the categories. If this video gets cut off on the app that you're using, full video is at gijanelle.com. So let's start with the patient who's pretty strong. And by that I mean they might be newly diagnosed, they might just have a strong digestive system, and they can tolerate a lot of things, quite few restrictions. That's not a lot of the patients I see anymore. I see the people who have been through like many courses of Xifaxan, erythromycin, metronidazole, just a lot of trial to try and get their SIBO or IBS symptoms under control. So now they're really sensitive because they've been through so many chemical exposures. So for the patient who hasn't gone through all of that and they feel relatively strong still, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with a half a teaspoon of the GI1 powder in water or juice for 7 days. During that period of time, if you notice any fatigue, malaise, hyperstimulation, increase in gas, or increase in bloating, you hold that dose until they go away without increasing your dose. These are normal signs. They're good signs. This is not like pharmaceutical medicine where it's like, okay, my head hurts, I take a pill, it goes away, right? It's not blocking a process. It's regenerating your system on so many levels. So it's going to take some time. At that point, you're going to increase every 3 to 7 days by a half a teaspoon until you get to the full treatment dose of 30 grams a day, which is 6 heaping teaspoons. Hold that dose now for 8 weeks, because the studies show that at the high doses over a course of time, like 8 weeks, being held for 8 weeks, that's when you get the antimicrobial and antifungal effect moving through your entire system and getting rid of the unwanted species so that you can permanently resolve your symptoms and go back to your normal life. At the end of that 8 weeks, you're going to titrate down by 1 teaspoon or 5 grams each week to get to a maintenance dose that you're going to hold for at least a year. So daily for a year, between half to 1 teaspoon. And you're also going to, at that point, reintroduce your foods. And you're going to do that in 2 different food groups. One is the inflammatory foods, dairy, wheat, eggs, gluten, soy. The other is the fermentable foods. You're going to introduce them differently because they're going to give you different information. I've got other videos on that you can look at. Okay, so now we're going to talk about a moderately sensitive patient and how do they dose the GI Janelle 1 powder for their IBS and SIBO symptoms. So same information that I covered in terms of timing and breaking down your doses previously for a patient who's not super sensitive. For the moderately sensitive patient, you're going to start with 1/8 of a teaspoon of GI Janelle 1 powder in water or juice and take that every day for 7 days. Again, if you notice any fatigue, malaise, hyperstimulation, bloating, or gas increasing, then hold your dose until those abate. Those are all good signs that you're making progress. I know it doesn't seem like it, but at the lower doses, you're not going to have the effect that you want. You're going to have them at the higher doses. That's where the antimicrobial, antifungal effects kick in. So after 7 days of that 1/8 of a teaspoon, you're going to increase to 1/4 of a teaspoon and hold that for 7 days. After that, each 7 days, you're going to increase your dose by 1/4 of a teaspoon until you reach the full treatment dose of 6 heaping teaspoons daily, which is 30 grams daily, all at once or divided with or without food. You're going to continue this for the full 8 weeks at this point at the full dose, so you're getting the antimicrobial, antifungal, and repair effect for anti-inflammatory function, for motility function, whether it's too much motility or not enough motility. All those things are going to kick in during that 8-week period. And then Same as for the previous video, you're going to titrate down by 1 teaspoon a week until you reach a maintenance dose. You're going to hold that for a year, and then you're going to reintroduce your 2 food groups in very careful ways so you get the food information from your body and you use the fermentable foods as prebiotics, much, much more effective than any pill that you're ever going to take. Our microbiome is determined by what we eat. Okay, GI Janelle 1 powder for IBS and SIBO for a hyper, very sensitive patient. Now, these are the people who have been struggling for years, who have tried pretty much everything, and quite likely have had many, many SIBO tests and many, many courses of Xifaxan, rifaximin, metronidazole, erythromycin, and are on super, super restricted diets that if they stray away from, they're going to be symptomatic. So it's pretty horrible. And what you're going to do if you're in that category of high sensitivity, first of all, remember that sulfur is an essential nutrient. We can't live without it. We can't make it, so we have to take it in. So you're not giving your body something that it doesn't need, but it might not know how to use it very well, because if you've been restricting a lot of those sulfur-rich nutrients in your foods, then you're going to be depleted. You might even have hydrogen sulfide SIBO to make up for that depletion, because your body's like, I need this, I'm going to make it this way, even though it might not be comfortable for the human. So what you're going to do, if as a sensitive patient, is you're going to start with a pinch. Just, dip your fingers in, pinch, put it in juice or water, and that's what you're going to have as a daily dose every day for 7 days. Same thing if you notice any malaise, fatigue, stimulation, more gas passing, more bloating, hold that until that increase dissipates and then go up in your dose again. You're going to be doing these pinch doses, increasing each 3 to 7 days, increase by a pinch dose until you reach 1/8 of a teaspoon. Once you get to that 1/8 of a teaspoon dose, try to increase then by larger increments, by 1/8 of a teaspoon increments. If this is too much for your body and you get die-off reactions or upregulation sulfur reactions with that jump, go back to the pinch dosing and continue to carry on with the pinch dosing until you get to 1/4 of a teaspoon. Again, you can try at that point to do a larger dose increase. If you can't, just keep on doing those pinch dose increases. The longest it's taken someone to do this increase working with me was 2 years. But in the end, she felt amazing and all her symptoms were gone. So it's really worth it, especially if you've been dealing with this for, years or decades. I've seen people of decades of trying to get rid of these IBS and SIBO symptoms. So you're going to, once you get up to the higher doses, like, 3 teaspoons, 4 teaspoons, people tell me that all of a sudden all those things go away. Your body has now got what it needed. So that's all good. Get up to the 30-gram dose, which is the 6 heaping teaspoons, no matter how long it takes you. Hold that for 8 weeks so you get that full antimicrobial, antifungal effect all the way through your intestines, and you replenish your sulfur stores and your sulfur cycles are spinning properly. And then, like everyone else, you're going to titrate down to a maintenance dose, and you're going to reintroduce your foods in the 2 separate categories, fermentable foods and inflammatory foods. And you can check out my videos on those.